Today we're going to do a little maintenance on these drill presses. I'm at a school here and we got a couple different ones, and your drill press is something you always overlook. Everybody does. Nobody does any maintenance on their drill press, do they? And if you don't, in a particular situation like this one, this is an old Delta. I've had it since the school was here. It's been a great drill press, but with Delta gone, you can't buy any more parts for it. So if you don't maintain it, you're going to end up throwing it away. So a couple little things that you just have to do to make sure that these things keep going. So let's get started here. Now obviously, this is the crank that goes up, that makes the bed go up and down. Now, at the school level, maybe not at your home, but what they do is they just see the crank and they don't realize that there's a lock on the other side. So you got to always make sure that that lock is loose. If not, you're putting a lot of wear and tear on this. There's a couple different gears in here that rides up and down on this. So if you do not unlock it and you're always cranking hard, you wreck that gear, you're in big trouble. That's a lot of work to change that gear out. So once again, I'm just lubing up all my points that are moving. Getting a little low here. Make sure everything runs nice and smooth. This one runs really good. What we can also do, blow off any dust here. We'll just give it a little bit of a shot of some penetrating oil there. Now this rack here, this one here, you can see that, you know, we've got, over time, people try and turn this thing and it gets bound up in here, and if you don't loosen things up, they start cranking on it, you can actually bend that rack out, and then it's pretty well useless. Pull it out and have to straighten it out or else buy a new one. So sometimes what they'll do is put a clamp on there so that you really can't move anything. The problem with that is you have to loosen it up if you do want to move your bed. But for the most part, you never really have to move too much. So, big thing there is just make sure that this is lubed up and working properly. Don't allow your handle to get loose because you don't want to strip out your set screw. Next thing. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, next we're going to make sure that our belts are snug. They're pretty good. If they're a little bit loose, usually there's a couple of set screws on the side, and then you basically just have to, if you're changing your belts, you just have to loosen that off to change your speeds. And you can see up here all the different speeds that you can have. But we're not changing nothing, so basically you just tighten her up. And tighten the set screws up, belts are good. Now, on my own personal one, I purposely leave my belts a little bit loose. I do a lot of metal work, and I want to be able to, if something ever grabs, I want to be able to stop it with my hand. I don't know if that's works for one of your policies or not, but it saved me a couple times, trust me. Okay. Now we're down to the simple stuff. Make sure handles are tight. On these, if your handles get loose on you all the time, that's not a good thing, because if you start stripping this stuff out, you're in trouble. There we go. Just look for any loose bolts. You can give this a bit of a shot here, lube this up a little bit. And we're good. Only thing left to do here is make sure that the bed is nice and straight. Now the best way to make sure that your bed is nice and straight, of course, just put a fairly long drill bit in, and you just bring your square up to it, and this looks pretty good. Make sure that's straight. Nothing worse than a crooked hole. And if you have to do anything, it's just a simple adjustment underneath. Sometimes there's a fairly large nut that you have to loosen off. I keep it a little snug, and then what I'll do is just tap it with a rubber mallet over here to get that nice and straight and tighten her up. Good to go. Everything else looks to be pretty good. Nice and snug. Pretty simple thing to do, and if you keep doing this, this will last forever. It'll outlast you, guaranteed. Well, it'll outlast me, I know that. So, till next time, we're going to find another tool, we'll maintain it, and remember, you're only as good as your tool.